So how is everyone doing? We're all checking in with you. We just want to make sure you're good. How is everyone? Good, excellent, excellent. Well, I'm really excited to be here. It's been a minute since I've done some comedy, so just really thrilled to share some things with you this evening. And as much as I'm very excited to be here, I'm also a little frustrated. I'm a little upset. I mean, you know, there's a way that I get tired over time with these politicians, right? And how they are just continuing to be all controlling and trying to be all up in the business of trans folks, non-binary folks, gender non-conforming, and genderqueer folks, you know? It's just like they are out here just saying, we can do whatever we want, and that you can do whatever we want. So, you know, I think about the fact that they are just continuing to get in and want to really control things, right? They're trying to control bathrooms, books, and bodies. And I start to think about, like, what's up with the letter B, y'all? Is there something going on specifically with the letter B? I mean, I think about, like, what would happen if they decided to ban bacon? Like, what would happen there, you know? Like, what would the reaction be from the public? And I feel like that's where you'd really see a lot of people in the streets, right? Like, rage, tearing through things, protesting. They would be like, where and what about the bacon? So anyway, you know, I mean, what we know is that this anti-trans nonsense is a complete horror show. And these politicians, these Republicans, they are monsters. And not cute monsters like the ones that are like cute and you touch them. Not like that at all. They're the real nasty monsters. And you know, it's really, really fucking scary. You know, when I think back, I think about like times when I encountered monsters more, and it was really more in my childhood, right? Like, so in my, you know, childhood when I was a kid, you know, at that point, I really thought about how monsters were mostly just things in a fantasy life, things in my fantasy world. And, you know, and okay, so I'm gonna explain to you a little bit about what I mean. So when I was a kid, I was both nowhere and everywhere, right? So nowhere meaning that I spent a lot of time in my head, right? A lot of time in my head, and I mean, honestly, I could spend hours there. It was like a Costco of the mind. I'd go in there, you know, for just like simple things. And then I just spend time there. I was also everywhere, meaning, you know, I was very much into doing specifically things I wasn't supposed to do, really. Like, if you didn't, it's really like if you told me specifically, you know, explicitly, you know, to not do something, I may or may not do that thing. So, for example, there was a time when I took my mother's cutting board and I decided to ride it down the stairs. I mean, honestly, I'm gonna be real with you. It was really quite glorious. It was quite fun. I loved it. It was like snowboarding. But there was no snowboard, and there's no snow. And it was inside the house. But it was all right because, you know, what that really says about me, and I'll share with you, that I'm part of the no helmet and no knee pads generation. We didn't have that kind of shit, helmets and knee pads. I mean, we lived a wild life that consisted of getting asphalt kisses. You know, like we were just there, and we were also about, like, you know, trying to get a sample here and there, different things that are choking hazards. It's delicious. And, to take the edge off sometimes, you just chew on Barbie's feet, just to sit back there and hold her on the side and just chew away and gnaw at her little feet. And that wildlife also included watching a lot of soothing television, like horror shows. And one of the things that I personally became obsessed with, vampires. Any vampire fans out here, folks? Vampires? I love a good vampire. See, at that age, I was both frightened of them and kind of intrigued, right? I mean, think about it. The travel opportunities, the dope clothes, right? Right? The alone time. The alone time. I was a mini goth in the making, honestly. Anyway, one of the ways that I dealt with my fear was that I decided to take on the scariest part of the vampire, the fangs, the teeth. So I decided that I was going to get some vampire teeth. But you have to understand what it was like for 7-year-old me to ask my West Indian mother for a set of vampire teeth. Like, you need to understand and you need to know that if having these vampire teeth was not going to make me an engineer, a lawyer, or a preschool teacher who's also a surgeon, there was going to be a lot of negotiation involved. But anyway, okay, so suffice it to say, I got my teeth, and I was excited. I got my glow-in-the-dark, toxic for children under 3 vampire teeth, and I was in love. I got them a couple of weeks before Halloween, and I have to tell you, at that moment, I knew I was baby Blackula straight away. I wore those teeth like they were growing just straight out of my mouth, like coming up out of my jaw, they were my teeth. And so you could have asked me my age, and I would have told you I was 647 years old. I just love wearing those teeth. I made hissing sounds. I wore a towel around as a cape. I stood in dark closets. I mean, I didn't do anything in there. I just stood in the dark closet with the cape and the teeth. Anyway, I really started to believe I was a vampire. Like, I was afraid to go to church because I was afraid I'd burn up on entry. But I did like going to Sunday school, though, because I'd wear my teeth, I'd sit there, and I would open my mouth ever so slightly, exposing my fangs. What? I became cautious about eating garlic, but to be honest with you, the runway for that plane was really short because, as I mentioned, West Indian household, like, I'm not going to be choosy about the food. It was not an option. You ate what you were given. But I wasn't afraid of the sun, though. I just had this feeling that I wouldn't burn up. And decades later, I would understand, with the help of Octavia Butler, rest in power, that vampires with melanin are protected from the sun. Now, if only melanin could keep people like me safe and protected in this dimension. Okay, so we get that I really love these teeth. So, I wasn't going to stop wearing these teeth at Halloween. No. I wore them to see Santa. Same teeth, wore them to see Santa. And Santa was like, ho, ho, ho. What do you want for Christmas, Cassandra? I want something for me and my toys. A coffin. Okay, so those teeth are long gone now, as you can imagine. But these days, I'm still kind of living that vampire life. I figured out my relationship with garlic, right? I feel most alive at night. I do. And I'm one of the few people who loves the connection between how vampires sleep and the Wakanda Forever salute. What? Yes. So, as a kid, I never could have imagined that there would be real-life evil monsters. Not a cute little vampire like I was, but like truly evil monsters posing as human beings. Monsters that seem to fear the radiant light of me and my trans fam. As a genderqueer person, as a femme, and as an aspiring vampire, I invite you all to join me in living as gloriously as you can. And if not that, you can join me in an undisclosed location. And we can chew on Barbie's feet. What? All right, that's my time. Thank you all so much.